This is Creepy and Geeky. Welcome. I'm your host, Robert, and today's guest is Iona Smith. Iona is a contributor to Ghouls Magazine and a film and TV news writer for Screen Rant. Welcome to the show, Iona.
Hi, lovely to be here.
Thanks for coming on. I threw it out there to, as I always do, I throw it out there to just see who might want to pop on the show, and you graciously jumped in to come and help me talk about Cabin in the Woods and Tucker and Dale versus Evil, two of my favorite horror comedies.
Exactly the same here. As soon as I saw your list and you'd mentioned both of them, I was like, I can't not. I have to go in and have a chat about these because, I mean, people that know me know that I am quite partial to a good comedy horror. Like, yes. I love things like Shaun of the Dead and stuff like that. But Those two are just like chef kiss perfection for me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And they're very what's great about them too is that they do a great job at being very meta, very self-referential to the horror genre in general, while also being just generally good movies too. They're not really outright spoofs of anything. They are good movies in and of themselves that just happen to have a good lot of metatextual stuff going on with it in terms of horror movies, which is just it's I love when a good movie can do that and speak to the genre, similar to what Scream does.
Definitely.
And I love a good horror comedy. I love the Evil Dead series, and Shaun of the Dead, of course, is excellent. So these are definitely two of the better ones, because I think it's really hard to do a good horror comedy. You go one side or the other too far, and you go into parody of you're a little too serious with just a touch of comedy, or if you're too funny, you're very much a parody.
I mean, we don't want to go into like scary movie kind of territory, do we? It's like you don't want to go that way. You want to go like you're aware of how meta you're being. You are completely playing to the tropes of like a classic horror film, and also kind of bringing people in who really like just comedies. It's like a good gateway, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's a good way of thinking about it too. Is horror comedies are a good way to, I wouldn't jump in with the Evil Dead series on that one, because that one really throws you in the deep end of the gore. But jump in with some Shaun of the Dead, or these two, Cabin in the Woods, and and I think that's what's nice about these two also, is that you don't have to know the tropes and everything that goes into what they're referencing. It helps. It makes your understanding that much deeper and more fun in a way. But if these are your first two tiptoes into the horror world, there's not a bad way to go. And it's nice and easy to go in.
I'd agree. I mean, I think especially in terms of Cabin in the Woods, I almost want to call that the Idiot's Guide to Horror, but in like a nice way, if you know what I mean.
Right.
It's like it's like a nice introductory film to people who are like, oh, I don't know if I want to watch a horror film. Like, I don't know if I'll enjoy it, because it's just so funny on so many different levels, but at the same time has those horror tropes that you can dip into if you're interested to kind of look into further. And then all your horror nerd friends like me can go, oh, if you liked this, then you'll like this list and this list, and it sets me off.
Yeah, no, and that's great. Let's jump right into Cabin in the Woods. That I think that's what's really great about Cabin in the Woods too, is because it's very much a deconstruction of the tropes and the what goes into a horror movie, because they're trying to recreate the sequences of a horror movie to appease these gods. Spoilers for everybody, because I don't hold on to any spoilers in these shows, but they that's the conceit of it all, is they're killing these kids in order to appease these old gods to keep on living in the world again. And to do that, they these kids have choices, but they have to meet in a certain order. And I thought that was interesting to see them explore that. Very much a slasher. It's I think it's more in the slasher. I mean, this time it was in the slasher thing. I think that they do say that, if they chose different things, than the order, maybe the order would have had to be the same, but it would have been done in a different way.
Yeah, I think especially for, like you said, for this occurrence that happens in the film, it's like, for the audience at home, it's like slasher, but make it a business.
Yeah.
They are literally like, the people downstairs are just running their day-to-day lives. Like this is no different to a casual Tuesday for them.
Right. And that's what's great too, is that you open with this movie and it's just two guys going into work, talking about, work stuff. You don't know what they're doing. They're just two guys walking down the hall and everything. And, and apparently what I found out through the limited research that I did on IMDb was that's actually intentional. They really wanted this to start with this to confuse the audience. They wanted the audience to go, wait, did we go into the wrong movie? Is this so I enjoy that, like that bait and switch that they did there. So.
Yeah, I mean, I love the introduction, like coffee pot talk, like and then they like jump onto the car, and it's just they're just nattering on like you do to a colleague, and then I think it's Bradley Whitford turns around and is like, are you even listening to me? And then it's just like, duh, Cabin in the Woods. And you're like, oh, wait, I am in the right film. Okay, that was an intentional jump scare. Good, let's go.
Yeah, no, it's fabulous. And Bradley Whitford and Richard Jenkins, they're so good in these roles. They're so funny. They part of, a major part of the comedy in this movie is attributed to them, and everything that goes on in their storyline inside of the bunker and everything is just, it's just so good.
My investment in Bradley Whitford finally getting to see a merman is like second to none. I just have that dream for him, and then when it's finally fulfilled, I want to like almost just clap. I'm just like there, like yes. Like, I mean, fair enough.
I don't think it's quite the way he wanted it to be, but he did.
But for me, I
wish.
enjoy it. I mean, he did.
I think that everybody felt the same way.
Oh yeah. It's also. It's also kind of like Schadenfreude justice as well. Like him being like, no, like I need to see a merman. Like this needs to happen in my like work career. Like it's like his big dream. And then for him to be like ripped apart, it just gives the audience that satisfaction of like, this is what you get when you ask for too many mermen.
Oh man, yeah, no, it's great. And then I read that the effect that they did with that, where they pumped the blood through the blowhole, that supposedly the effect went on for something like 9 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, we only saw just a couple of seconds of it.
Yeah, so I think the bit that they used in the film was when the blood cannon that they had in that costume was running out. So
that's what it looked like.
If you watch I think it's included in one of the behind the scenes. Actually, I'm one of those nerds that goes on the DVDs and watches all the extras. So like I have like a faint memory of this in the back of my brain from checking out and it was like it was literally just blood, and then the little kind of like pitter patter that we see in the film is nothing compared to what was coming out of that cannon.
Yeah, no, it's honestly, it's very kind of disappointing what you see on the screen. It's just like, and why didn't they use a better shot though, too? No. That's what I don't understand. It's like, what, that you had all that footage and then you didn't use it?
Yeah, it's like you had all of that blood and gore, and you've just gone, oh, I'll just have like a sprinkle. It's fine.
I mean, you've already gotten the R rating. I mean, come on, just,
Yeah.
Evil
Lean
Dead it,
into
man.
it.
Come on.
Yeah. Literally Evil Dead it. That is the perfect way to describe it.
Just, go full Evil Dead on it.
Exactly.
So I did think that's funny too, because if you pause on the screen when you're looking at the board of what all is coming and everything, there are one of them is deadites on there.
Yes.
And also a molesting tree. So
yes, angry molesting tree is my favorite character in this film.
And it's actually funny too, because I do see that, like when everything comes out of the elevators, there is a tree that comes out.
It comes out
and
sideways,
I think this is the only time I ever noticed it.
Yeah, there is one character that I see on that board as well, though, that I want to know who they are, and that's Kevin.
I have trivia for that. So Kevin is supposed to be one of two things. Kevin is just supposed to be a nice guy that turns out to be a serial killer.
Amazing.
Or it's potentially the character that Elijah Wood played in Sin City, which is basically the same thing. A nice looking guy who's actually a serial killer.
That makes me so happy, because also Elijah Wood in Sin City is one of my favorite characters that Elijah Wood plays. Yes. I mean, I'm a big diehard Elijah Wood fan. So
no, he's great, and especially in the more wild stuff that he gets into.
Mm-hmm. Him and Daniel Radcliffe doing anything completely off kilter, like weird indie films that they do. Spot on. That is my ideal film.
No, and Daniel Radcliffe, man. Oh man, I'm so glad of the direction he's gone into. He's just like, you know what? I did Harry Potter. I make a lot. He probably still makes a lot of money off that. Mm-hmm. So he's just like, I'm just gonna go do the weirdest shit possible so that I can have fun doing movies. So and it's nice to see him pop up. Yeah, it's nice to see him pop up in kind of high budget stuff like The Lost City recently. But it's nice to see him in that really weird indie stuff, like the Weird Al movie that's supposed to be coming out soon. And
I'm so
I can't
excited
wait to see that.
I love Weird Al as well.
So weird.
It's going to be amazing. And also Rainn Wilson's in it. So that's like a double like feature of my favorite actors. But yeah, no, I love Daniel Radcliffe in have you seen Guns Akimbo?
I haven't seen that yet.
It's glorious. It's like Daniel Radcliffe doing, when he loses it in that film, it's like him doing an impression of Nick Cage.
Oh,
that's the only way I can describe it. You need to watch it. It's chaos. I love it. But sorry, I made us go off on a tangent because of Kevin.
No, that's awesome. All right, yeah, no, I definitely want to check out Guns Akimbo. Is one of those ones I'm interested in, but haven't watched yet. So.
Yeah. But yeah, sorry, I made us go off on a Daniel Radcliffe tangent from talking about Elijah Wood being Kevin from this board. It's
easy to do.
It is very easy to do with these kind of things. Everything's related somehow, and I feel going back to our film, Cabin in the Woods is one of those things that proves that everything's related anyway. So absolutely. It works out.
Yeah, no, it's fun to watch. It's fun to pause and take a look at that board and see all what's on there and see that was funny too. That whole sequence where the girl's like, well, I picked zombies. He's like, yes, you picked zombies, but this is zombie redneck torture family.
Whole different category.
Yeah.
One of my other absolute favorites on that board is dismemberment goblins, and you get to see them later on. Oh, they're so good. You see them later on the screens. I think it's like in like one of the like top right screens when everything's gone to hell and like all the monsters are out. And there's these two goblins on, I think, like a golf cart, and they've got a torso and they're just throwing it around in circles above their heads. And the first time I noticed that, I started crying because I was laughing so hard. I was like, this is dismemberment goblins. If anything, they're my people. Like, if I was going to be a creature, I'd be a dismemberment goblin.
That's funny. No, I love it too, because I mean, you once the creatures all come out, you get all the random stuff that was on the board, plus all the stuff you didn't see. You get their random versions of like a pinhead, but he's more like a saw head. And then you get a unicorn. Which cracks
because
me up.
Why not?
Unicorns are just as dangerous as anything else.
I mean, they have got.
I was going to say, we really don't know how evil they are.
That is true. And since they've got a big, sharp implement on their head,
Yeah.
you don't know whether they're going to use that for a defense or an attack. Like,
Right.
I've never come across a unicorn. I don't know.
Me neither. Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah. No, it's that whole this movie's great. But that's and it's fun too because this movie came out. It was made before Thor, and we're going to put this in context because Chris Hemsworth is one of the main characters of this movie,
Yes.
and this was made in 2009. It was supposed to have been released in 2010, but it got shelved because of MGM going bankrupt. This was one of two movies he did for MGM that both got shelved and got brought back out after Thor had become a hit and he became a much more bankable star. This one and Red Dawn. So.
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten about Red Dawn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
So,
but yeah, I mean, having Chris Hemsworth like on your shelf just to release later on when he's a big mega star because of Thor, fair enough. I think that might have maybe worked in their favor a little bit, if anything.
Yeah, no, that's what's it's funny too because it's like, how did you not see that he was going to be a big star even from from this movie? I mean, this movie itself, you could see how good of an actor, how like, and even how funny he is. That's one of the things that I actually really enjoy about Chris Hemsworth is that he's a very funny actor and he loves delving into the comedy. So it's fun to see him get to play with that a lot more in this than he did with the first couple of Thors where they're a little too serious. So
yeah. Thankfully, that didn't last very long with Thor, though, because
thank God.
Ragnarok and Love and Thunder are chaos.
Yes, I love Ragnarok, and I really enjoyed Love and Thunder.
I'm exactly the same. I mean, I loved Ragnarok. Love and Thunder, I was like, okay, you're pushing it a bit now, but I do find you funny still. Like, it was. I feel like Love and Thunder was just him and Taika Waititi just on set prattling around.
Oh like,
that was 99% of that film, right?
I think Taika was just like, I'm gonna push this as far as I possibly can and see what I can get away with. And Marvel's just like, all right, it worked last time, why not? So
exactly.
I think it kind of bit them in the butt a little bit because a lot of people have kind of railed against it. I don't understand because it's just funny. I mean,
I feel like it's a film that is very aware of itself in terms of not taking itself too seriously.
Right.
And people who were going in thinking that it was going to be like a really serious Marvel film that was going to give them so much exposition for the rest of the universe were just going in with a completely wrong mindset. They needed to just take a step back, have a beer, chill.
Well, because I think that's what Marvel's been doing recently too, to go off on another tangent here, is that Marvel noticed that going for the first three phases and how their model was movie to movie to movie and pushing towards a certain narrative. While it worked, there were also missteps along the way because Age of Ultron was a mess, trying to get that to get into the next phase. And I think that what they're doing now is we'll just put in some little light things here and there, but for the most part, we're going to let these movies be their own thing.
Yeah.
And we'll use certain movies. Like I would think personally, I think that Multiverse of Madness is more something that's gearing towards the overall story, but fits firmly better in with Doctor Strange than something like Thor, So I think that, I think Marvel's starting to get on the right track with that stuff, even with some of the stuff that's kind of uneven, like the Eternals or whatever. While it might not be my favorite, I still enjoy it. And I like that Marvel's actually taking, after all this time, they're still taking big swings on things that they know may or may not hit. So,
yeah. Because I mean, it's not like with characters like Spider-Man when you've got a guaranteed win because it's a character that everyone knows and loves. Like Eternals, especially, was like quite a back shelf. Not everyone knows that fandom kind of area.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you're gonna get some hits and you're gonna get some misses for general audiences, but then you've got big old nerdy Marvel fans like me who are like, I love everything. Everything's great. Yeah.
I can see by your wall back there. You're a huge Marvel fan, so
we've got a lot of Marvel and just general Disney artwork around in my flat. To be honest,
that's awesome. I dig it. I'm a huge Marvel fan, so
perfect.
I'm
yeah, we're one of a kind for that kind of thing.
All right, so back to Cabin in the Woods, but
back to it.
So Chris Hemsworth, obviously he's the big star, besides besides Bradley Whitford and Richard Jenkins. I think he's the biggest name star that most people are going to recognize at the time. Then I'm forgetting his name now. The one he went on to go do Grey's Anatomy.
Jesse Williams.
Yes, thank you, Jesse Williams.
I love him.
So this was also pre Grey's Anatomy, and he jumped into that and became a bigger star because of that. So it's nice to see a couple of these guys get bigger stars along the way later. Unfortunately, not from this necessarily, but when this finally came out.
Yeah, by the time this came out, most of them had already got their big break, or what they would say was their big break in TV or film or whatever. But I do kind of love that about this film, though. Like I said, because it got shelved and then it came out at a time where some of these stars really were rising. Right. It was this is a big appeal because Chris Hemsworth's in it. Let's go see it. And you saw him in a completely different light because he wasn't this muscly, long blonde hair Thor, and Jesse Williams wasn't this blue-eyed, ravishing doctor or anything like that. It was literally just them being I guess college student kind of age. Their age is a little bit confusing to me, but
they're supposed to be in college, but everybody seems maybe later 20s to me. Everybody, none of them seem to be young.
No,
so
everyone seems to be a grown-ass adult.
Late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, which to be fair, also kind of works with horror tropes because you get that a lot. You get people who are clearly adults playing teens.
Especially in the slasher, campground slasher things. It's none of you guys are freaking teenagers. Come on.
No. It's you dude are in your 30s. Don't tell me you're 18.
Not even just your 30s. You're kind of in your late 30s here, all right?
Yeah. I see that 5 o'clock shadow that's built up from just
at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. It's great. Yeah, no, it's and being that this is a Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard, it's Drew Goddard's directorial debut. And they both worked together on Buffy the Vampire Slayer previous to this, that this was a chance for them to, and this is what's confusing about it too, is I guess it was really hard for them to get this off the ground as well. It just which I don't get me wrong, I kind of understand it's not a movie that's going to be a big hit.
No.
And it's it's playing in genres and stuff that's typically, horror is not a huge moneymaker. It's not meant to be a huge moneymaker.
Even nowadays, when we're getting a lot more horror in the cinema and general audiences seem to be going to see horror more, you're not going to get the biggest revenue of the year from a horror film. It's not going to happen.
No. That's your movies that you put into theaters that are usually pretty reliable to make some money, to definitely make a good profit on. It's not going to make a huge amount of money, but it's going to make its money back plus. And exactly. So, and that's what I think a lot of studios have gotten away from that, but it seems to be this year, especially with the amount of horror movies that have come out, especially in the last couple of months, you're starting to see a return to that. These really low level or mid-level horror movies that are doing really well. Barbarian just went back into the actually expanded into theaters. Smile's doing really well. It's crazy.
Yeah. So just for reference for Barbarian, we haven't had that in the UK yet, but
wow,
I did see it at Fright Fest in London.
Okay.
And I am so glad I did, because the hype online from the American audiences for Barbarian is huge. And I completely understand why. If anyone from the UK is waiting to see whether that is worth going to see, go and see it when it comes out.
Oh yeah.
Because it's so good. I'm not going to say anything more though, because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone.
Spoilers.
It's just
no spoilers. You just need to see this movie. It is
so good.
It's not what you expect.
Not at all. Not at all.
It's wild. But it's but yeah, that's the other thing. I think there was something else that you guys weren't getting either. Was it Hellraiser? Have you guys gotten the new Hellraiser yet?
Yeah, we haven't got Hellraiser yet. So we
I
haven't
don't
had
understand
Hellraiser.
that.
I am so angry. Also, isn't the director from Liverpool in the UK?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure he's from the UK. I think it's Liverpool. Anyway,
but it's Hulu. Why isn't Hulu releasing that worldwide?
It's ridiculous. We're furious. We're also not getting a cinema release of Terrifier 2 from the looks of it either, which is another one that I loved. And I saw at Fright Fest again, but none of my UK friends are getting to see it. So I'm like, ugh.
No, David Bruckner, the guy who did the new Hellraiser, is from Georgia.
My mistake.
Where I'm at now. So, yeah, no, yeah, I don't understand how something that's on streaming did not get a worldwide release. I'm assuming there's something to do with the rights or something, but I would have thought they would have worked that out by now.
Yeah, but this does seem to be the curse of living in the UK. Sometimes I see a lot of like horror releases that have come out in the US and everyone's like really hyped about them, and I'm just there like twiddling my thumbs, waiting for something to happen here. I'm just like, man. I don't want to encourage illegal.
That's happened to us a couple of times too, where you guys have gotten something a week ahead of us or a couple of weeks ahead of us, and I'm just like, why? That makes no sense.
It's like, just do it at the same time.
They're encouraged. They're like, and that's the thing. Like, I don't deal with piracy or anything, but like they're encouraging people to pirate at that point. You're like, you making people want to watch these movies, especially something like Hellraiser or even Barbarian with the good word of mouth that it's gotten. I don't understand that at all. It just baffles me.
I know, it's infuriating.
Yeah. We just went off on another tangent, which I love doing, so it's all right.
That's all right, then.
Cabin Woods, going back to the Joss Whedon of it all, which is unfortunate at this point.
Yeah.
So I will say, it's very well done. I enjoy this movie a lot. It's there's not a whole lot that you can really say about it. I think that it's just fun to watch a movie that deconstructs horror again, in a good way. That's not it doesn't belittle the audience. It doesn't it's very good at my brain is not making connections right now. It's very good at letting the audience enjoy itself. Yes. It's not spoon feeding things to you. It's not overly explaining things. It's, if you know this stuff, great. If you don't know it, we'll give you just enough information to do it. And like we said, this is a good intro horror movie for people if you want to watch it. It's got some gory bits here and there, but I don't think that it's super overly gory.
No, I think it's just fun. It is. I think it's got enough gore to keep the gore hounds happy. Yeah. But it's got enough kind of action scenes, I guess I'd call them, for like a general audience to kind of lean into if they're not sure where they stand on the kind of horror scope at the minute, I guess.
Right.
But also in terms of the gore and the horror and stuff, like the practical effects in this film just make me so happy. It's done so well that it's like a really neat introduction for, like I said, for people who want to come into horror and are a bit not sure. It's like, this is gore done well. Like when it's done well. And here is the splatter, here is like the fun of it, rather than making it really intense and like scary and like it's literally just like, here's someone who's been thrown up a wall. Oh no, off they go. Like there's that kind of gore.
No, it's really good, and the practical effects are really well done, and the digital effects are really well done as well. There's some definite when there's digital, but it doesn't look as off-putting as some older digital effects can be. So it's a good mix.
I think it lives up to an okay standard nowadays. Like, it's not one of those films that you look at and go, oh, that's aged a lot. Like, I mean, obviously we know there's not going to have been a giant cobra snake in the middle of a facility or anything. Like, that's not a thing. But
and they couldn't do that practically. So
no, God, no. I mean, they could maybe film it like they did in the olden times, where they had it like the forced
stop motion.
Yeah. like they have like the really big like plasticine or like clay model up front, and there's the actors behind screaming while it like dives
or using a real cobra,
Oh yeah. put it in like a glass just case really in front of them. Maybe they could have done that, but I don't think it would have been as effective.
No. I think that would have been very, very silly.
Yes.
But no, it's a very good movie. I think that most people who are aware of it have seen it and enjoy it. I have not heard anybody ever actually say anything bad about this movie.
No, I don't think I have either, to be honest. I think most people that I've spoken to about it, whether they're a horror fan or not, have said that there's something, even if it's not like the type of film that they'll rave about, it's still an enjoyable, good time for anyone that really watches it. Unless, you may be like a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't show this to a very small child, let's put it that way.
Oh yeah. No, it's it might be a little too much for them, but anybody else can definitely handle it. But all right. Do you have anything else you want to say specifically about Cabin in the Woods?
I think the only other thing I was actually going to ask you was how you feel about the kind of story development by the end about like the giant ancient ones. Because obviously this is like quite a new version of the horror tropes, but also kind of links back to old school stuff. So how do you feel with that kind of link after watching a pretty standard slasher / gore run around session?
No, I think that's a very good way of connecting it all and putting an old gods type spin onto the story. I think, and that's what's funny about it too. And spoilers for everybody. I think that it's interesting to end it on a note of just everybody's dead. This literally everybody in the world dies at this point because the old gods come back and destroy the world. Which is always a weird concept to me too. Like, okay, what are the old gods going to preside over now? They were getting fed at least, so it's like, why would you come back, destroy everything that, was already there. And now you've got to just, hang around and wait for these, potentially for more people to populate again to feed you.
To sprout up.
But I do like that ending.
Yeah, I feel like the ancient ones destroying everything and being like, forget this, like they haven't abided by our rules. It's almost like a giant toddler throwing a tantrum. Yeah, it's like you didn't follow my game, you go by now, kind of thing. Like, smack the earth, destroy it, start from anew.
Right.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I do like it. Kind of ties it up in a neat little bow, I think, by the end. But also I feel like it gives you a little bit of leeway to canonically maybe do I'm not saying I want a sequel to Cabin in the Woods, but if someone wanted to do a film that followed on from those events where they're trying to like evade the ancient gods and also evade all of the creatures that I'm sure will have made it up through that facility at some point. Some of them would have crawled out of the like mess that was destroyed by the old gods. I think that would be a fun concept. But I don't want a Cabin in the Woods sequel. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah. I saw that too, and somebody asked, I think somebody asked Drew Goddard, about a sequel to the movie. He's like, "Did you see the ending to this movie?"
Yeah. It's like, how realistic? No, it's like, it's the end. That's the end of it.
I did think it was funny too, because it comes down to a choice at the end. Also, it comes down to, would you die to save everybody else on the planet, or would you try to still save yourself and your friends, even though that makes it that everybody, including yourself now, everybody's going to die. I just think it's a weird choice to make too at the end, that they're just like, yeah, we're not going to sacrifice ourselves. We're just going to, we're going to just ensure the world is going to die altogether. I get that maybe you didn't trust her you know, and everything. But once you felt the ground shaking and, you know, started hearing the roaring going on, I'd be like, yeah, that might be a better idea to, you know, sacrifice myself if it means everybody else in the world can live. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
think at that point
weird.
they're like, yeah, I think in my mind, I think at that point they're both like, well, we've gone through hell.
Yeah.
Like, forget it. Like, we're done. We're tapping out. We're not doing any more for this planet. Like, I think at that point, them just sat down, sharing a joint, and just being like, nah, tapping out. It's actually, especially for the hothead kind of character.
Yeah.
I think it's appropriate for him. Maybe not the final girl, but it's appropriate for him.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's funny too, and another little bit of trivia about that too is that the actor who played the stoner, Fran Kranz, he the reason why he didn't jump into the water during the lake sequence and everything is because he was apparently so ripped and muscular that he actually would have like been more muscular than Chris Hemsworth and Jesse Williams at the time. So they were just like, okay, yeah, keep all your clothes on because that would just look weird for the stoner guy to be like super ripped.
I mean,
and that's why you don't see him in anything but baggy clothes also. So
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, if secret like reveal of Stoner being super ripped was in this film, I'd be so into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny too, and I think you get kind of a taste of that too when he comes back and he's clubbed the person with his bong and everything. You can kind of tell he's kind of muscular underneath the shirt at that point, but the shirt's still pretty baggy, so you can't really see anything. But I did like every time I've seen that, I'm all like, I think that dude's a little ripped under there.
It's like,
so
what's hidden here? Do tell.
Just take off the shirt, man. It's okay. You can show everybody.
Bit fan service for people. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. All right. And then going to the opposite the direction of going to Tucker and Dale versus Evil now to hillbillies. I do think it's funny though too, because ultimately both of these are situated in cabins in the woods.
Yes. And both the cabins in the woods are very Evil Dead kind of style as well.
Very
like both
much,
of them are like super decrepit, look like, and also both of them are like filmed from quite a like low angle when they first like come up, and you're like, oh, that's the Evil Dead shot. That is like seeing it from almost like the floor and being like, ooh, spooky cabin.
Yeah. You can make anything look spooky from that angle, you know.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, it's this one was one of those ones that took me by surprise when I saw it. That I don't know how much I'd heard about it. I'd seen it years ago, and I immediately fell in love with this one. This one is one of my top favorite of all time, just because it is so. It takes the the hillbilly killers versus college students trope and spins it on its head. And rather than the hillbillies actually killing people, they're just out there trying to mind their own business, having vacation in their new vacation cabin, home, whatever. And these college students end up coming in and disturbing it and weirdly dying all on their own. So it's the most bizarre thing. And then the twist at the end is hilarious. It's the movie is just it's fun. So for me, Alan Tudyk and Tyler Labine are two of my favorite people ever, especially Tyler Labine. I've loved him for years, and seeing them together as these two hillbillies, just it kills me. They're so funny together.
They really are. I mean, like I'm a massive Alan Tudyk fan, mainly because I am also a huge Firefly nerd and all that kind of stuff. Like that. I mean, basically, you're just unleashing all the nerds in me today. Like all the multiple nerd genres that I'm obsessed with are all coming out in this podcast. But yeah,
that's why it's creepy and geeky.
Exactly. That's why I'm rolling with it. It's great. And like, I think, like Alan Tudyk especially is just so funny to me. Everything he has been in, I have found his character funny. Like if I've seen it, If it's Tudyk, I'm great. I'm having a great time. I mean, like he's Hey Hey the chicken in Moana,
which is so weird.
Which I saw a behind the scene clip of him like doing the voiceover for that, and he looks deadpan into the camera and just goes, "I went to Juilliard," and then just starts making chicken noises, and it's honestly one of my favorite clips of him that I've ever seen. He really tickles my funny bone. And then obviously him combined with Tyler Labine, and like they're riffing off each other, and they're
so good together.
They're perfect. And like at one point when Tyler Labine's like, "They hate my face" and stuff like that, I'm just, it really gets me. I love this film,
which
so
was
much.
apparently an ad lib.
Like all these little like random improvs that he did throughout the script. I'm just like, yes, this is good humor.
Oh no, they are so good together. I'm actually surprised they haven't done more together over the years since. And so it's just and this movie, it was also weirdly, I believe this movie got shelved for a little bit as well. It got filmed and didn't come out for at least a year. And I mean, I understand it. Movies, it happens all the time. It still happens even to this day. I mean, look what happened with Warner Brothers in that Batgirl movie that was supposed to come out, and they completely just wrote off.
Yeah, that's like died a death now. That's gone.
I don't understand that. It's like, how do you have a movie that was in post-production and you're not going to release it? I don't care if you're trying to get the tax money on it. Like, release that.
Yeah.
So
it's like,
it's gonna,
if you've got a project,
somebody's going to release that.
Oh, they have to. They will at some point.
I just don't understand it. It's
not at all.
But anyway, but yeah, it's this movie is so good. It's so funny. The whole concept is hilarious of just taking that the hillbilly killer trope, which is I've mentioned it on Twitter in a couple of places recently, is that just hillbilly horror is not my thing. It's I can't get into. I've watched a little over half of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, and it's just not a franchise for me.
Fair enough.
And it's I don't find them terrible. It's just not for me. But with this, because of the way they are, and especially because it's Alan Tudyk and Tyler Labine, I think that it's hilarious because they are playing just two regular guys just trying to do their thing, and circumstances just go awry. It's just, I think it's too funny.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. So I quite like a hillbilly horror. So like I do like my Texas Chainsaws. I like my kind of mutant hillbillies in the hills kind of stuff as well. It's like The Hills Have Eyes and stuff is pretty high on my list, and like put in some cannibalism in there as well, and I'm having a great time. But I mean, my horror kind of preference changes daily, to be honest.
Right.
So there could be a hillbilly horror out there that I haven't seen, and I'm like, do you know what? That's put me off that genre for X amount of months. I'm not going to go back to that for a while. I think my main kind of love for this film in particular comes from the absolute blatant misinterpretations that every single character have of each other.
Yeah,
it's like the two guys who have just got this nice cabin think that these like alpha like idiot like high schoolers are gonna cause them problems because like they're doing a suicide cult in the woods, and like these students think that they're like these two hillbillies are out to get them, and actually what would solve all of this is if they just stood and had a conversation and went, oh, you're not after me, oh, you're not after us, okay, cool, we're fine. But no, as it is with horror tropes, no one listens to anyone and runs in opposite directions and chaos.
Well, and ultimately it comes down to Chad. Chad is really the insider of all this.
Do not get me started on Chad.
he is a definite Chad. And he's pretty much the chattiest of all Chads. He tells the story early on about how hillbillies attacked a group of college students similar to them and killed most of them. We find out later that his mother and father were part of this group as well, and that his mother was supposedly pregnant with him at the time, and that they killed his father. And that, that's why he really doesn't like these hillbillies, and he's really kind of out to get these guys. And basically ends up killing his friends by accident. The friends really killed themselves.
Well, yes.
But most of them anyway.
Yeah.
And it's because of Chad's the stuff that he does that is the reason for all of this. The Tucker and Dale save one of their friends, one of the college girls, from drowning because she falls off a rock and falls into the water. They take her back to their cabin, and the college kids all assume that they took her to to kill her or abuse her or whatever. And
they're like, we've got your friend. It's like, oh no, run.
Yeah, we've got your friend. That cracks me up.
Oh man.
But yeah, it's definitely all based in misunderstanding, and because of Chad's preconceptions about who these hillbillies are based on his family history.
Yeah.
So it's take out that aspect of it, and you wouldn't have most of the problems that you have in this movie. But because of that, a number of the college students end up killing themselves in crazy, bizarre fashion while trying to attack or whatever the hillbillies. So and it's so comical because you've got Alan Tudyk's character, you got Tucker trying to saw through a log in the back, and saws through a nest of bees, a hive of bees.
Yeah. Oh
and starts running out, swinging the chainsaw, trying to get away from the bees. And then the kid just thinks, oh, he's trying to get me. He's trying to get me. And they both start running, and Tucker's running and trying to get away. And then he notices, he looks over and he's like, wait, why is this college student running too? Like, who is this person? And then the kid impales himself on a branch. Oh, and
that is a sharp branch.
Oh yeah, right.
That has to be like a really sharp branch.
I mean, you have to be booking it, and that has to be very sharp. I mean, I could just understand poking yourself and causing some damage, but impaling yourself all the way through. I mean, obviously for the movie it's meant to be funny, but it goes through him. And it's not the only time that happens to somebody either. We have another instance where another guy is coming at them with a spear, and like a double pointed spear, a point on each end, and trips and falls and impales himself onto it. And
then he's on top of Dale, and Dale is just like,
he's like, oh, he's bleeding on me.
Just want that trauma, poor man.
Yeah. Oh man, like that's the thing that sucks too, is Tucker and Dale, they didn't want any of this. They wanted a nice quiet weekend or week or however long they're supposed to be out there fixing up this cabin. And not only do all these college students die, but a cop dies, and it's all unintentional. They don't kill anybody.
No, not at all.
And so it's like, even at the end, they don't kill anybody. It's all unintentional accidents. And it's so funny though. It's like it's some of the best kills. One kid dives, like what's his name, Tucker, Alan Tudyk's character, is chucking wood into this wood chipper, and another college kid runs at him about to attack him, leaps, and Tucker ducks to get some wood, and the kid jumps right into the wood chipper.
Wood chipper death is my favorite death in this film. It's the so panic. Good. It's the panic that Tucker has afterwards as well, when he's like trying to pull this man out,
trying to pull the legs out.
It's like
that kid's dead, dude.
Yeah, that kid is long gone. Like those legs are attached to nothing.
Yeah. Oh, it's great too because
finally get it out.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, they finally get it out, and he's like pulling on me. He's like, how does half a guy weigh so much?
When they do finally pull it out, and the legs land on Dale, and then Tucker just drags them across his face.
It over his face.
It's like, you could have taken it off your friend the opposite direction so he didn't get like blood and bone and, you know, viscera on his face.
Oh my God. No,
it's so good.
This movie's so good. It's so funny.
I think
it is a highly recommended movie. I tell anybody who ever wants to watch anytime anybody's they say, you know, what's a good horror comedy? I'm like, literally the first thing out of my mouth is Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
100%. So, I think it's really interesting as well, because I know so for this and for Cabin in the Woods, both of these films were the director's directorial debuts. So they've done other stuff before in terms of like writing and stuff, but both of them, it was their directorial debuts, and both of the films came out so well.
So well.
You can have such a hit and miss with people's debuts sometimes. Sometimes you see a director who's really into a passion project, and then it comes out in the cinemas and you're like, oh, I know you really I know you've really tried, but I really don't like this. Whereas both of these films were just, you could see the excitement from the director through the film. It was just so good.
This one's so perfect.
It is. And just very slightly backtracking as well, you know, Chad, the chattiest Chad of all Chads. So he's played by Jesse Moss, who, and I know you're going to like this because we had a very quick discussion off the podcast before. He is the boyfriend in Final Destination 3 from the roller coaster scene who gets thrown off right at the beginning.
Oh, wow.
He is Mary Elizabeth Winstead's boyfriend in that film.
Oh, I forgot about that.
The reason that I bring it up is I know from our previous chat that you also like Final Destination. So, and then there's another girl in it as well, Chloe, who's played by Sheila Simmons, I think her name is. She's another girl in Final Destination 3. She dies in the tanning bed.
She's one of the tanning bed girls.
I was watching this again, like I was rewatching it for this podcast, and I was like, those people look really familiar. And then I went back and I was like, oh, that's why, because like Final Destination is one of my favorite film franchises.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I love the Final Destination series. Quick mention, you got to be on episode 2 of Fishnets and Philosophy, and I'm going to be on episode 5 of the Final Destination series. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So
both talking about our loves for that franchise. It's a whopper.
Yes, yeah. That's one of those ones. I'd like to get onto. I'd like to probably get into it on this show at some point. I just heard that Final Destination 6 has been greenlit, or something's in the works for I think they got a director recently for it. So I'm hopeful that it'll be good.
I think it's been technically classed as being like pre-production stage now, so I'm really hyped for it because you know, bring it on. It's more fun, blood and gore. Like it's just it's funny and it's enjoyable. I mean, obviously they take themselves a little bit more seriously than these films do, but it's for me it feels like a very similar ilk of like I will sit down with a pot of popcorn, a drink, and just watch these like fun like gore fests happen. And
you watch these for the deaths. You watch these for the crazy like Rube Goldberg-esque like style deaths. Which as long as you have that and you have Tony Todd, then you're set. My man Tony Todd. I love him. I'm telling you. That's the reason why number 4 sucks. Final Destination 4 sucks is because there's no Tony Todd. So
exactly.
There are over reliance of CGI and 3D.
Well, that too, yeah. The 3D hype was not the one. It needed to stop. It needed to stop. Yeah. And I'm so glad it's not a massive thing now because
I'm glad they stopped doing it. It just was like there were so many movies that came out in 3D that I was just like, nope, I'm watching the 2D version of it because one, I don't need the headache, and two, it's not special. Like that's the thing, though. At least with the Final Destination movies that used it, or any other horror movies that used it, they had stuff flying out your face. Like that's because it's a gimmick. That's what 3D is supposed to be for, is for the gimmick, not for the immersion. Nobody cares about the immersion, obviously, because nobody went to these movies anymore. So
exactly.
And that's why, I haven't seen the first Avatar movie. I have no desire to see the first Avatar movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the new one's going to do as well because the hype for 3D is kind of whittled
Dead and
away.
gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I saw the first one because, I mean, God, I can't remember how old I was when the first one came out. I was in senior school for UK. So I think that would have been high school for you guys, or maybe end of middle school. But yeah, I was at like the age where it was like, oh, this is like a really fun gimmick. And then I
Yeah.
came out with motion sickness and a horrible migraine and was like, I'm never doing this again. Like
Yeah.
forget 3D, it's horrible.
No, yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. And that, I mean, and that's, I know there's a lot of people who love Avatar and
Mhm.
everything, but for generally speaking, the people who that I had heard from about it was that the story was very thin and um very reminiscent of other movies.
Mhm.
Um and that the main thing that people were going for and the main thing that people really enjoyed it with it were the 3D and the visuals. And it's like if that's all you got for me, I'm that's not enough for me to, go check it out. So
No, I agree. I mean,
so
if you ever go to Disney World, the Avatar bit of Disney World's fun, but that's the
yeah.
only gimmick that I'm really there for now with that
Right.
franchise. I'll walk,
Right.
I'll go to Orlando. I'll go and see the little Avatar floating like rocks in the sky, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Apart from that,
Yeah.
I don't really care.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think that with 3D, we're getting off topic again. But I think with 3D that if you're going to use it, and I think that you could use it even today, I think that
Mhm.
you need to make it the gimmick. I think it
Mhm.
has to be the gimmick to work successfully because otherwise it's not being used in the right way.
Yeah.
And I think that's what general audiences have figured out was that as much as it looks cool to have this immersion and maybe something flying close by your face or something, but if it's not popping out at your face, then it doesn't really make sense to use it all the time. And
Yeah.
it's not as fun. And don't get me wrong, I love that now the 3D technology is the way it is so that you're not having to have that red blue all the
Mhm.
time, that it's more normal color. But yeah, if you're not using the gimmick, it's not for me.
No, I completely agree. I mean, even in relation to like these two films, like if they'd tried to do a
Oh
3D version of
yeah.
either of these, I'd be like, mm-mm. I mean, I feel like it would play to Cabin in the Woods more than Tucker and Dale versus Evil, only
There were a couple of
because
moments I noticed in Tucker and Dale where it could have been used very well too.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah, when the kid gets impaled, that would have been a good like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
right in your face. When they hit the truck at the end where it runs into the tree at the end would have been a
Yeah,
really great moment for that.
yeah.
So there's a couple of really good moments that could have been really well done.
Hmm.
But leave it to movies like the My Bloody Valentine
Oh yeah.
remake. That was really good. I don't think I've ever seen it in 3D, but you can see where the 3D worked, and
Yeah,
it
you can
it
see where
looks
they
like it would have
utilized
been a
it.
lot of fun. So
Hmm.
yeah,
No, I agree. I think yeah, the only reason that I said for Cabin in the Woods is just because I can imagine the elevator doors opening and the
oh
chaos
yeah,
happening and all of
yeah,
that just flying. But then also
flying
I
at your
do feel like
face. Yeah,
yeah, I do feel like I would definitely have got a little bit sick from that as well.
oh yeah, a
It'd be
little
like,
too much sensory overload there.
yeah, I think that would have been too much for me. I would have been like, oh, I don't know how I
Yeah,
feel.
the Cobra would have been really cool. That big Cobra when it comes up would have been really cool.
That
So
would have been cool.
yeah, but yeah. So I mean, yeah, both of these movies are really fun. If
Hmm.
uh, you know, Tucker and Dale, um, is like I said, it's so good. It's one of my favorite. It's one of the ones that I always will tell people. It just even in general, any kind of horror conversation, I will put that up against anything, because it's just a fun movie.
Yeah.
Um, and it knows it's fun. It's having a lot of fun with itself and with the audience, and subverting expectations. It's just all over. It's just a fun movie.
No, I agree. I think in terms of if someone wants an easy watch that is possibly like I mean it really does kind of teeter the line between horror and comedy for me, and I think if
Yes.
someone wants that good middle ground in between, that's not too hard to kind of follow. It's like a good Sunday horror film.
Yeah,
I think, like, when you don't really want to think too much, you just want to have a good time with something.
Yeah.
Tucker and Dale versus Evil is the perfect recommendation for that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think Cabin in the Woods is probably more entry horror than Tucker and Dale is, because Tucker and Dale has a little bit more gore to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think they both have that ability to be entry horror for anybody, because they play with well-known tropes that even non-horror people can understand. The college kids and the in a cabin in the woods and all that. So it's all part and parcel of the same thing. Everybody's heard of that kind of thing. So if you want to introduce somebody to something fun and something horror, give them either of these two movies for sure.
Definitely.
Any other things you want to say specifically about Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
I think there was just one little fun bit of trivia that I wanted to share with you, just because it really makes me laugh. So the scene where Alan Tudyk is upside down and he's been captured by Chad, and he's like hanging, and he's like, "Oh, I'll give you some beers, like just let me go." Apparently he was hung upside down for so long that he ended up with swollen eyeballs, and he had like a headache for about a week after he finished filming that.
Ouch.
They kept asking him if he wanted to come down, and he was like, "No, I'm fine, don't worry, we'll just carry on shooting the scene." And he ended up with swollen eyeballs because of it. So
oh man.
Long story short, kids, don't hang upside down too long.
No.
Don't do it.
20 minutes tops.
Yeah, exactly. But thought I'd just leave you with that fun bit of trivia.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to end it. So I think that's all I've got for this. Thank you for coming on. Let people know where they can find you online.
Yeah, so I am pretty much across any social media platform you can think of, with the tag fall_out_Iona, because I'm also, as well as being a nerd for horror and geek culture, I'm also a dirty little emo kid, and Fall Out Boy will always be my favorite band, and I will defend that to the end of time.
Hey, I like Fall Out Boy. I might be an old man, but I like Fall Out.
That's good. I've got a newfound friend in you, I think.
I like Panic at the Disco. I'm an older emo kid. So
that's good. To be fair, the older emo music is the stuff that I go for too. So that's my vibe. People could also see my work online. I write for Ghouls magazine as a regular contributor. We do horror from a female and non-binary perspective. And I'm also on Screen Rant. People can see my work on there. I do TV and film news reporting for them on there. So it's pretty much my presence, I think.
Everybody should go check her out. Check out Ghouls magazine also, for sure. It's a great resource for, like she said, feminist and non-binary reporting on entertainment in general, and horror specifically. But that's all I got. Thank you for coming on again, and I hope to have you on again soon.
Thanks, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks again to Iona for coming on the show. Next episode, it's our 1-year anniversary, and my daughter Katrina is back to talk about the David Gordon Green Halloween trilogy with me. Thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast on social media at Creepy and Geeky on both Twitter and Instagram. If you'd like to follow me, I'm Geek Thulu on Twitter and geek.thulu on Instagram. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more from our TeePublic page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.